Have the Orlando Magic found the formula? Sure, it's the Washington Wizards, but perhaps they have today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is November 1st, 2025. It will be November 2nd, 2025. My name is Phil Prosper. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Magic are starting to find their formula on offense. What that means, what that looks like, and how the Magic can do this against better teams. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies. That means you're listening every day, even on the weekends when we do weekend episodes. It means we're in your regular rotation, if not your first listen of the day. We truly appreciate all of you who are part of our Locked On Magic community. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. The Washington Wizards they're not ready. They're just not ready. And so this game, probably more than Thursday's game, because I do have a lot of respect for what Charlotte's building and the direction Charlotte is generally heading, and even if they're not there yet. More than anything, this game was a get-right game for the Magic. This was a game where we expected the Magic to dominate, and whatever trouble, whatever struggles that you had on Monday and Wednesday that had everybody wringing their hands and freaking out. And even though I was very upset about a lot of things, I was still preaching patience and saying it'll come together. Don't go so crazy. Don't go too far off in advance. We're broaching on some things maybe we don't need to broach on, but they needed a game like this. But having said that, even when you play the bad teams in the league, you still got to do the job. You still got to execute. You still got to play your game. You still got to, make those plays, defend. Every team in the NBA is good. And any team in the NBA can beat you on any given night. There are NBA players on the Washington Wizards. And so we take all this with a grain of salt to say what the Magic needed to do Saturday night in Washington was show us their formula. They needed to show us, they need to show this league, they need to show themselves what they need to do to win. And honestly, the measure of a great team is to do it and do it at a high level and do it with intensity and intention and all that stuff. And do it even when the opponent isn't gonna put up a roadblock. We had that game last year. There's a game last year. I forget exactly when. I think it might have been against the Sixers, and the Sixers won in Orlando, where they had Joel Embiid. And I remember, I think Jamal Mosley said after the game that the Magic just got kind of bored with doing the simple. And there is a little bit of this where to be a great team, you can't be bored by the simple. You can't be upset or you can't be distracted by the bells and whistles and how easy things are coming. You got to just do the simple things really well. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise. The Magic still got work to do on that front. The Magic still left some points on the table. Their first quarter was really sloppy. A lot of turnovers at the end of the quarter, staked Washington a 6-point lead. They were getting into this back and forth game. Scoring was coming so easily for them that their defensive intensity dropped. And, I think Monday and Wednesday were probably the worst we're going to see from this team. But the fact that they had those games in them, it's going to be a struggle all year to be this dominant defensive team. Like that part of them is still there. That part of them isn't completely gone. So, what is the Magic's formula then? Because I think ultimately that's what we needed to learn in these last two games against far inferior teams with far weaker defenses than the Magic BC. And yes, we need to see this team against a better defense. Hello, Atlanta on Tuesday. Hello, Boston on Friday and Sunday. Hello, Portland on a week from Monday. Hello, New York on the road. We're going to find out real quick just how committed the Magic are. But after looking just so disjointed on both ends, to see them do the simple so well, to see them do these things well, you get a feel for what the formula is going to be. And look, the Wizards did not put up much resistance. The Magic shot 51.1% from floor. They were 12 for 36 from three. They didn't shoot the ball from three. Great. They were 19 for 22 from the foul line. They only had 8 offensive rebounds only. They converted 17 points off 17 Washington turnovers. They outscored the Wizards 62 to 52 in the paint. They had 24 fast break points. There's a lot of things that were even. It just came down to the Wizards missed a lot of shots. And that's a credit to the Magic's defense. But the Magic turned in one of their best offensive games of the season. On the game, Orlando had a 116.8 offensive rating and an 87 defensive rating. So again, this game was about the Magic's defense. Let's not go crazy. But the Magic did exactly what they've been trying to do all season. And exactly what they've been trying to say is the point of everything they're trying to do. They're trying to take their pace. They're trying to take their defense and turn that immediately into points. So those 17 points off 17 turnovers, exactly. 24 fast break points on 10 for 12 shooting. Exactly. Getting into the paint and moving the ball. 62 points in the paint on 31 for 49 shooting. Exactly. In fact, let's throw out the fourth quarter. Let's throw that fourth quarter into the trash. The Magic outscored the Wizards 52 to 34 through 3 quarters because the Magic led by 30. They essentially did not play the fourth quarter. And yes, like a little bit of the time when the starters are in, when they let the Wizards get it down, I think 23 was as close as got 21 maybe. They looked like they were coasting, and the Magic got to break that habit. They got to take that habit and throw it out. But the Magic put the hammer down, a 43-21 second quarter, a 28-19 third quarter, holding the Wizards to just 40 points in those middle 2 quarters, which is not even as much as they scored in the second quarter. That's what turned this game. That's what put the Magic ahead. That's why the Magic dominated this one from start to finish. It was because their defense led the way. It was because they made, again, after that first quarter, they made smart passes. They attacked relentlessly. They lived in the paint. On the FanDuel Sports Network broadcast, Joe Prunty was the halftime interview with Kendra Douglas. And Joe Prunty said, we have 40 points in the paint. That's great. But we also created 20 more points from paint touches, from being around the paint. It could have been a Paolo Banchero kick to the three-point line. Could have been a kick out to three-point line that whipped around and got them another paint basket or another free throw. The Magic were constantly on attack, constantly looking to share the ball, sometimes sharing the ball too much. I still think they overpass a little bit. But they were constantly putting pressure on the rim and constantly daring a Wizards team that does not have the defensive discipline or ability at this point to stop them. A lot of guys didn't have the best shooting games. Paolo dominated. Franz Wagner dominated. Wendell Carter had a great game. But this game was truly about the Magic understanding their formula and playing that formula to a T for 48 minutes or for as many minutes as they needed to run this game open. So let's then talk about pace. What does pace actually mean? Because I think we've talked a lot about it, but we're still trying to define it clearly. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, but every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your personal record, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney, your money, your move. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Basketball season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in line, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team at the big game. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives the fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. With Game Time, you can really get tickets to anything. I've used Game Time to go to concerts before. They have great deals on concerts. Really, honestly, the best of all the ticket sites. I love using Game Time. This is not just for the ad. I actually do use Game Time. They can get you to concerts. They can get you to other sporting events, whether it's Orlando City, whether it's the Orlando Solar Bears. They have everything on there. And so whether you're looking to see the Magic play the Celtics on Friday, or whether you're trying to go see a show at the Dr. Phillips Center, Game Time has your ticket to the show, ticket to the event, no matter what it is. And you can even find NBA tickets for less than $25. Their zone deals are a true game changer. You pick the section, and Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. We've talked a lot about pace on this show. Like we have. It's been kind of the buzzword. It's been kind of the big thing that the Magic are trying to get at, and Magic are trying to do more of here. But what does it actually mean? I feel like I always have to come on here and remind you of this, that pace is not about possession count. So for the record, the Magic's pace in terms of possessions is up. The Magic are playing at more possessions per 48 minutes than they were last year. They're last in the league. I believe they entered Saturday's game as 7th in the league in the number of possessions per 48 minutes. They played Saturday's game at a pace of 107.5 possessions per 48 minutes. I would argue that the Magic struggled a little bit at this pace, or struggled a little bit because you get into this kind of like back and forth game where you're going down scoring, they're coming right back at you. Pace isn't just about the possession numbers. Like, yes, the Magic are trying to get up the court faster. They are trying to get over the timeline with 20 seconds left so they can initiate their offense sooner. But pace is really about the speed at which you execute your offense. It's really about saying we're going to move from one action to the next. We're not going to slow down. We're not going to stop. We're not going to survey. We're going to move from one action to the next. And it's been a fair criticism that when the Magic certainly last year, when they were struggling offensively, but it's a fair criticism to say this year when their offense has been bad, it's because it's not moving. It's because it's Paolo dribbling the ball into infinity, or Franz trying to pick and roll his way to some space. It's when the ball gets stuck and they're kind of looking like, what do I do next? And there is a criticism about Jamal Mosley and his offense that there's really no secondary actions. Really, it's supposed to be one action flowing into the next. It's supposed to be, okay, this is my read, not there, go to the next one. This is my read, do it, all that stuff. And so this team, I think gets caught a little bit between these two definitions of pace. On one hand, they are trying to get the possession count up. They're trying to get out in transition more. They had 24 fast break points in this game. They had, let me make sure I got my numbers right here. They had 12 attempts, 24 fast break points. Honestly, like the Magic have been very, very good in transition all year long. It's one of the few things that they've been above average on according to Synergy this season. Their transition play has been very, very good. That pace is very, very real. I've said this to as many people as I can say to. I believe in what the Magic are trying to do offensively. It's just about execution and getting to know each other. And so these last two games have been really valuable because you can begin to see like, oh, they're putting the pieces together. They're saying, oh, this goes here. This is how we flow into each other. This is how we work together. And yeah, the last piece of that puzzle is going to be Desmond Bane, but they're figuring it out very, very quickly. And so again, these two teams, very little defensive resistance. The Magic are able to kind of operate and do what they want to do without getting stopped very much beyond just their own turnovers. They had 17 turnovers in this game for 18 points. Through the first three quarters, they had 10. So 7 of their 10 turnovers came in the fourth quarter. I'm not losing sleep on that. That's not going to kill you at the end of the day. Especially because again, fourth quarter was irrelevant. Magic had won this game already. Pace is very much kind of an attitude and an intention more than a number. So I am never going to be able to put a number. Again, besides like possessions are a symbol of what's going on, but I'm never going to put a number to say, oh, this is a sign the Magic are doing pace the right way. It's very much, it when you see it. And that's what got me excited about this game. And again, building off of what they did Thursday, this is the Magic's formula. Like this is what we're talking about. The Magic got down and defended. After that first quarter, they locked down the Wizards. They started switching a lot more. They kept size on Alex Sarr, so he wasn't a factor in the paint. They kept the Wizards from getting to the basket. They challenged everything at the rim. Again, they had 23 stocks in the game. They challenged everything at the rim. They rebounded really well. I know Washington still ended up with 11 offensive rebounds, but the Magic rebounded very, very well in this game. And they put their foot down. They put the hammer down and used that to get easy baskets. There were a lot of transition opportunities just off of misses. And even when they didn't score off of those, what they would do is they would get the ball up court so quickly that Washington would be caught in mismatches and switches, and they would attack them. Like, look, Paolo Banchero, if this game were close at all, Paolo Banchero very easily could have had 50, and he wouldn't have 50 because this game wouldn't be close enough for him to stay in the game with the way he was just dominating Washington completely. 28 points through three quarters. He had 25 at the half. 9 for 15 shooting, 3 for 6 from 3, 7 for 7 from foul lines. The Magic finally made free throws. Jonathan Isaac was the only one who missed free throws in this game. 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. He did have 3 turnovers, so still kind of falls in love with his own dribbling at times, especially when he got going in the second quarter. But Paolo was a constant threat to get to the rim. And look, Washington doesn't have the size to deal with him. Franz Wagner was the same way, just a constant threat. And because they're living in the paint, that defense is collapsing around them. And then it just becomes about making the right decisions. Franz had 6 assists. Paolo had 4. Jalen Suggs had 5. He also had 5 steals. We'll get to the whole numbers here in a minute. But this game was an offensive tour de force. 51.1% shooting. Only 12 for 36 from 3, which the Magic will take. 32 assists, which is a season high. 13 steals, which is a season high. 10 blocks, which is a season high. All of those help you get out in transition and help you control the tempo of the game. I usually try to differentiate pace and tempo. Pace is the number of possessions. Tempo is is the speed at which you're playing, and the team that controls tempo controls how each team is playing. That's the team that wins. I don't think the Magic need to play at 110 possessions for 48 minutes. Their defense won't allow that, because if they're defending really well, teams are getting deeper into the shot clock. You're getting fewer possessions that way naturally anyway. It's not the end of the world that the Magic are near the bottom in possessions. They're near the top as it stands, but the Magic are starting to find their footing playing at a tempo and a speed that they're comfortable with, a tempo that they can control. And look, again, I get it. This is the Washington Wizards. Go listen to our friends at Locked On Wizards. I'm sure they're very ticked off with the way that they played and the setback that this certainly was for their team. This is the Washington Wizards. This is a young team that doesn't quite know how to play defense yet. That is still, I really like a lot of the players on this Wizards team. I love Bilal Coulibaly. I love Alex R. Keyshawn George was so impressive. He's come such a long way with a shot. I loved him in the draft process. He's come such a long way. He had an excellent game. CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton starting to show his age. The Wizards have a lot of interesting players. But when the Magic were dialed in the way that they were, their size, their speed, their intensity are way too much. And that's the biggest thing that we've needed to see. And now we're starting to see it come together. Now we're starting to see it piece together. So what does that look like on the stat sheet? Let's go through the box score. Talk a little bit about what we saw on Saturday coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Rugiet. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it so easy to get started. Just connect with a board-certified, 100% certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rugiet, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. Again, that's Rugiet, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Let's run through the box scores. The Orlando Magic defeat the Washington Wizards 125-94. Again, I don't want to insult anybody. I have been in these shoes before. The Wizards are just not at the level that the Magic are at. And, you know, the Magic needed a couple games against teams like the Wizards and teams like the Hornets, although I think Charlotte's better than what they showed us on Wednesday or on Thursday. The Magic needed a game like this to kind of get that feeling back. You look at the standings, the Magic have played a really tough schedule, at least by the current standing. Chicago's still undefeated. I believe Atlanta, Charlotte, and Washington, 3 of the 7 games now. Atlanta, Charlotte, and Washington are the only teams that are under 500. Miami's only got 2 losses. One is to Orlando, one is to San Antonio, who's also undefeated. Atlanta is hovering around 500. We'll obviously see them on Tuesday. We'll talk more about that game coming up in the next couple of tomorrow's episode. Most likely we'll talk a little bit more about that game, or certainly on Tuesday's episode, we'll talk about that game. You know, the Magic have played a difficult schedule. Detroit's playing a lot better. They're playing Dallas as I'm recording this. So Philadelphia's obviously got the one loss that came Friday against Boston. So the Magic, not that they hit a buzzsaw, not that they shouldn't have been able to handle this, but I think we can all acknowledge now the process of learning how to run this offense and learning the thought processes that you need in this offense, learning how to play with each other, with Desmond Bane, with Franz Wagner coming back from Eurobasket, with Jalen Suggs kind of in and out of the lineup. The process of kind of coming together was still ongoing, and they struggled with it. And everybody struggled with it. You know, I'm not absolving Jamal Mosley of this either. I didn't like his rotations. I still don't like his rotations. It's getting better. It's getting more consistent. That's good news. But there's still obviously a lot of work to do. At the end of the day, getting your best from your best players goes such a long way. And everything on this team is going to revolve around Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. And so to see them score 53 points, dominate the first half, just kind of pick where they wanted to go and not settle. Like that's been the thing with Paolo And to some extent, Franz, honestly, too. But that's been the thing with Paolo is he's just kind of settled for jumpers at times. As long as Alex Sarr wasn't on him, Paolo was going to the basket and was getting there. Finished 9 for 15, 3 for 6 from three. So he did take some threes. 7 for 7 from the foul line, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, 28 points. Again, 25 in the first half. He just dominated this game. There is no one on Washington that had the size or the speed to handle him. And Paolo just ducked his head and got to the basket. And obviously he didn't have like the crazy assist numbers that he had in the previous 3 games. He entered the game averaging 7 assists per game on this road trip. But he made great plays. I thought honestly his best play of the night came in the second quarter, attacked the basket, got into the paint, 4 guys surrounded him, whipped a bounce pass to Wendell Carter in the quarter, and he drained a 3. Like that was the play of the game to me. That was like, yes, that's the vision. That's what we're trying to get at. That's what we're trying to do. And so rumors of Paolo Banchero's demise have been greatly exaggerated. Like, yes, there was an adjustment period. He's learning the right thought processes. There's going to be bad nights here too. But I think everyone overreacted to the Chicago game. He had 20. He scored 20 points in every game this season except for the Chicago game. He scored 32 against Philadelphia and was dominant in that game. I agree. Second half against Detroit wasn't great, but he's been pretty consistent, and it feels like he's ramping up to, he's not going for MVP or anything. He doesn't need to be great from the start, but it feels like he's getting ready to have some big games here and again, be the anchor for this team. The same goes with Franz Wagner, 25 points, 8 for 19 shooting. A lot of those misses coming in the fourth quarter when it was just him. He was 7 for 15 through 3 quarters. So 1 for 4 in the fourth quarter. I'm not counting fourth quarter stats. He was 2 for 5 from 3, 7 for 7 from foul line, 6 rebounds, including 3 offensive rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals for 25 points. Same as Paolo, Franz was just getting to the basket at will. His layups are coming back down to earth after such a strong start shooting the ball. But look, he's making threes. Like he's making threes legitimately now. This isn't just like, oh, one game he had a nice game. Like, no, he started the season really, really well from 3. There's a lot of confidence there. So again, just like Paolo, feels like Franz need a little bit of time to wade into the waters, get a little comfortable with what they're doing. It's starting to come. And again, like I think it's just coming in waves. Like Paolo's come first. Franz is coming now. Wendell Carter's been playing really well. He's found his pockets. 16 points, 7 for 10 shooting, 12 rebounds, 2 for 3 from 3, 2 blocks. Loved everything I'm seeing from Wendell right now. Very much like the preseason, just finding pockets, being available, hitting threes when he needs to hit them. Defensively, I think he's still playing really well. His ability to switch is so key. When the Magic really started to take off in the second quarter, a lot of it was because they were switching, and especially switching Paolo and Dell. So like Chris Middleton would run a pick and roll, or they'd run some stagger screen. Wendell would step up and guard the ball handler. Paolo would go with Sarr, and that's how Paolo got a lot of his rebounds. Paolo would go with Sarr, and they would just blow. That offensive set just wouldn't work. Wendell Carter still has some things to clean up. I won't say he's completely consistent. Y'all know I'm a Wendell Carter defender. I honestly think Wendell Carter's probably more than any player done exactly what the Magic have wanted him to do. I clean up the rebounds a little bit. He's been a beast on the offensive glass, so he makes up for it a little bit. But back-to-back really nice games from Wendell Carter after he had 18 against Charlotte. He had 16 in this game. Goga Bitadze had 15 points off the bench, but a lot of that coming at the end of the game. Goga was very active around the basket. This was one of Goga's better games of the season. The next wave, though, needs to be Desmond Bane. And, we'll talk certainly more about Desmond Bane and how the Magic get him involved. He finishes with 5 points, 2 for 6 shooting, 1 for 3 from 3. So he did get 1 3 to go down. It was a really nice ball reversal from Paolo, just an assist, catch and shoot 3, exactly the kind of shot the Magic needed to get. 5 assists in the game. Added 2 steals. I think Dez, first and foremost, is getting more comfortable defensively, and that's important. I think that's one of the reasons why the Magic's defense has taken a little bit of a better turnover the last 2 games. Again, Charlotte, Washington, let's not blow anything out of proportion here. He'll get Dyson Daniels. Oh, no, Dyson Daniels probably guard Franz, but he'll get a good defender on him in Atlanta, and he'll need to step up, and the Magic will beat him against Atlanta. But I think Dez, I really like what Dez is doing. The shots are going to come. He's confident the shots are going to come. He's not worried. Jamal Mosley was asked about it after the game, and he said, like, Dez is just enjoying this process of getting to know this team and kind of finding his fit. And if there's a big difference, if there's a big thing, it's the assists. Like, it's not like he's not contributing. Like, yes, the Magic need to find ways to get him more shots. I'm not disagreeing there. I'm not saying, the Magic brought him in to be a shooter, to be someone that, will hit big shots for them. He's not getting those shots yet. I'm confident they'll come. I'm confident they'll figure it out. That it's like the next phase of what they're going to install here. But having said that, teams are still very scared of his shooting. And the difference between him and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope last year is KCP wasn't attacking off the dribble and making assists. Dez is making some really smart plays. I still think he's a little too unselfish. I want him to shoot a little bit more. But he's still making plays and making a positive impact on this team. So I'm really happy with Dez. Jalen Suggs finished with 6 points, 3 for 10 shooting. He missed all 7 of his threes, including one that went off the side of the backboard. 5 assists, 5 steals. Did have 3 turnovers. So Jalen Suggs is starting to assert himself a little bit more defensively. Like he's going all out. He knows he's only playing 3 to 4 minutes. And honestly, like, it feels like those runs are short. And I think that's a good thing. That means like, oh, we're feeling his impact. We want more of him. That's a good thing. Bad offensive game. He's probably due for one. Just bad shooting night. He's, again, due for one. But it definitely feels like Suggs probably not ready for more. I don't think he's there yet. But we're eager for more. And I think that's the good feeling that we want. Again, it was a weird scoring game. The Magic didn't have like a ton of scoring. They got big scoring from Paolo, big scoring from Franz, and then just a little bit from everybody. Like I said, Goga Bitadze had 15 off the bench, but most of that in the fourth quarter. Anthony Black had 8, 3 for 6 shooting, 5 assists. Really nice game for him. Still 3 turnovers. The turnovers are still an issue with AB, but AB, I think, has greatly improved. Tyus Jones had 6 points, 3 for 4 shooting. He did miss his only 3. Solid game for him. Jonathan Isaac really establishing himself as someone that needs to be in the rotation if we didn't know that already. 8 points, 6 rebounds, changed a lot of shots, was active on the glass. Really love what Jonathan Isaac's given this team. Again, just everyone contributing a little bit, but it was just the sum is just so much bigger than the parts. It's things are flowing naturally. The ball is kind of finding who it needs to find. Team is playing loose. Team is playing free. Team is playing with a lot of joy. And again, you're playing the Wizards, but you're taking care of your business. And I think that's a big thing for Orlando. The Magic defeat the Washington Wizards 125-94. Again, they led by as much as 30 in this one in the third quarter. Fourth quarter was pro forma. And so the Magic will take that, get to 3-4, get to 2-2 on this road trip, the longest road trip of the season, with a chance to get a winning road trip and back to 500 when they play the Atlanta Hawks on Tuesday on their first game on NBC in a very, very long time. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You can find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the places to download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can find us as well on YouTube. To search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, go make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and helping you win your league, all while making you a smarter NBA fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All part of Locked On Podcast Network. That's your team every day. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We will be back tomorrow with a new episode of Locked On Magic. We'll talk a little bit about what Wendell Carter's doing. We'll talk a little bit about Franz Wagner's shooting. Got those 2 things in the queue. I will probably do an episode tomorrow. I don't think this episode will stand in for Monday's episode, but it might. I'm not going to make complete promises there. But we will be back soon with a new episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.